So welcome back, guys, and I'll be showing you the best places to put the blocking wards as well as the dewarding wards on the dire side. So we want to start off by placing a sentry just about here. If you think you want to deward this camp, as a person who's trying to ward this camp, you should place a sentry over here, or you can opt to put a sentry or observer ward here. It's not a particularly bad place to put an observer ward. So what this sentry does is it covers almost the entirety of this camp. As you can see, it misses the corner spot right here. You can't actually ward there. It's not a valid ward spot. And of course, it misses the very corner there. As you can see, we can kill the wards that were placed over here, but we don't have vision of that one. So if you missed that, if you missed the observer ward placement here, don't put a sentry over here. It's probably not worth it unless you're putting one all the way down here, in which case it might not be so bad, because this is actually a pretty valid warding spot. This isn't going to be a warding video, but I'll just show you guys that right now. So yeah, you can put a sentry there, or another option is to just simply move this sentry, place another one just right beside it, and it'll cover it as well. As you can see, it'll cover this portion. And the reason you can put another sentry here and it's not so bad is because it covers this part of the spawn as well. So there's a secondary spawn that it works to kind of cover. And what this does is it forces your opponent, if they want to block this camp and this camp, to put their next sentry somewhere over here. The good thing about the dire camp here, I guess, is if you're on the dire side, is that you can deward the entire camp with only one sentry. This one covers the entire spawn box. There's actually no place that it doesn't cover, so that's a pretty good sentry placement. So if you're on the radiant side and you're trying to block the dire side, once again, you should probably putting your sentry someone that doesn't correlate with this. So for example, if I'm playing on the dire side and I put a sentry up here, as you can see, the sentry is going to help me deward this cliff, but it also gives me pretty good vision into this spawn box here. So if your opponent also wants to put a sentry ward maybe like right here, just to right in the middle to cover everything, what you want to do is your goal is to put a sentry ward like around here. I would say is probably the best place, because it's quite obscure. If your opponent wants to get value from a sentry ward, for example, dewarding multiple camps like here or here, multiple wards like here, they're not going to be able to do so. Instead, if they're less greedy and they just want to clear out the camp, something they can do is put the sentry ward about here. As you can see, it covers the entire spawn box. So you have two sentries that cover the entire spawn box just on one side of the map. So I'll be covering the left side of all the dire camps now, and if you are the radiant team, what you want to do is you want to start off by blocking this camp here by placing a sentry in the top right. And the reason we do this is because if you place a sentry ward just about here, you can cover almost the entirety of this camp. You can see that it doesn't block this part right here, but you can't actually ward here due to the tree, so you save a little bit of efficiency by placing the observer ward right here, but you lose out on the top right corner. So that's kind of the balance you have to figure out, whether you want to deward that whole thing or where your opponent may have placed a sentry ward. So for the big camp here, you can actually block the whole you can deward the whole thing with one sentry. So if you are the radiant team, what you want to do is you want to place a sentry ward all the way to the very right here. And for this camp, you want to place a sentry ward all the way to the very left here. And the reason for that is because you don't want the dire team to be able to efficiently deward both of your jungle camps by placing a sentry ward right in the middle. Since these camps are so close, you don't want to be able to deward both by placing one here. As you can see, this is a little bit too close, so maybe something like here. Whatever, you get the idea. You just want to make sure that you don't place it in such a way that it gets dewarded by just one sentry. So placing it on the extremities is probably the best option. Unfortunately, this camp is also very small and can be dewarded with only one sentry. You can place it here or here, both just deward the whole thing. The camps, both of these are just so tiny that if they're the only camps that are blocked, your opponent can easily deward them. For the big camp here, a cheeky place to put the sentry is actually up here on the high ground. You can block it by placing it right there. And just as easily, you can sort of just deward it by placing another sentry right behind here. And this sentry covers almost the entire camp here. The only place it doesn't cover is this little part over here, which you can actually put a sentry down here if you'd like, or you can put it at the very corner. So this sentry ward is pretty good, except for it doesn't block the very corner. That one might deward it, but at the very corner here, it doesn't actually cover those areas. So putting a sentry ward here is pretty good about 99% of the time, but putting a sentry ward just to block it here is also pretty nice. So you have some options there on both teams as to where you want to deward. So this is actually one of the more viable places to place your observer wards. You can put one here, and I'll just jump away with Crystal Maiden so you guys can see how much vision it actually gives. As you can see, you get a lot of vision up in this area and all around here, so you can see some rotations from supports going to help mid, or someone who's picking up the bounty rune or something like that. Or you can also put observer ward here, gives pretty good vision, or here. You know, all these places are pretty good, but naturally this leads to it being pretty easily dewarded by placing a sentry, like right here, for example. So placing a sentry here covers all of these areas. Placing a sentry ward here covers these two observer ward placements, and placing a sentry ward over here covers these. So you can't actually clear this entire camp with only one sentry. As you can see, the camp is fairly too big, and we're just a little short of being able to cover the entire thing. This dire camp as well is a little bit too big. You can't cover it with only one sentry. You'll have to place one here, and you'll have to place one here. So if you know that both these camps are blocked, something that you can do is place a sentry ward maybe a little bit lower, like one right around here. And you can place this sentry here, and it covers almost the entire thing. It leaves up this little area open, so you have to be a little bit efficient with your sentry wards, knowing where to place them. You also have to get a little bit of information knowing where your opponents may have placed them. But yeah, so overall, these are probably the most efficient places that you can place your sentries and observer wards to block your opponents, gain some vision, and at the same time some of the more efficient places to straight up clear out your camps, so you can save some sentries for annoying heroes while you also deward at the same time. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff. I always make sure whenever I post a new video, I'll let you guys know. So yep, just final thoughts. Be efficient, try this out, practice it, just go into your own custom games so you can do them very quickly and you don't have to hold down Alt for a very long time. But at the same time, make sure that you do take a little bit of time. So thanks for watching, and yeah, until next time, GG guys.